there will certainly be a scrum here, you would imagine. It's a lot of dirty on the ground, inconsiderate in terms of viewers in their play, Otto, because, when there's so much mishandling of the ball early on with no rain, you've got to ask the question, well, what's going on there? Did they have too much tomato sauce on their boerewors rolls before they came out to play? Scrum time.
It's a strange place to play if you are a South African player. Once you get on that plane, if you've ever been on a sports tour, you get on that bus, you get on that plane, and things change a little bit, and then it's just up to the men in the moment to make it work.
Right, feed now by Bristol. Porter waiting at the back for it. Thomas du Toit, Thomas the tank engine, had a massive scrum in their previous game that really set things off. But in this instance, Morahan is at the back and he's thumped it downfield. Now South Africa come back with Gianni Lombard, the Lions man, almost stranded there, and he was swamped by blue players. But now Williams has it at the back of the ruck. He's been put under pressure by a number of men, but eventually gets it away to Jenkins. Jenkins carries it up to halfway, and no release from the South Africans means that Bristol will get another penalty. Early penalties here could be costly for these men in green and gold, Otto, because, that's what the SA selectors are looking at. Zwandile Stick, the assistant coach, will be looking at this and thinking, oh, gents, you've got to settle down early. Normally the 3 points is what settles you down, but not yet in this game as they kick for touch on the near side of the park. Just inside South Africa's 22 is where this lineout is taken.
Yeah, it's once again a little bit of everything.
Byrne now with the throw. Immediately finds his jumper into the maul. There go.
Yeah, a little bit of everything here from both sides. Very, very nervous.
He almost, channeled his inner Joseph Dweba, who actually had a much better game last week Thursday rather, but not in the 23 today. Andre Hugo Venter is South Africa's hooker and the replacement, Simpiwe Matanzima. So scrum now, about 15 meters in from the near side touchline and about 3 or 4 meters in from South Africa's 22-meter line. So about 20, maybe 19 meters away from their try line. Thankfully, it is an attacking scrum for the Springboks. Here we go. Can we see the front three, Mchunu, Hugo Venter, and du Toit really drive things here with Jenkins and Nokia as well. The engine room driving things. It's a static scrum here. Williams out the back to the number 10, Feinberg Ngomazulu. Thumps this downfield and doesn't find touch. Into the hands of Morahan. Can he find his way over halfway? He is, and now it's seemingly held up in what looked like a Mulberry briefly, but the referee didn't call it. He then blows the whistle and says penalty to the benefit of the SAA side, and they'll have an opportunity to perhaps get a little bit more forward momentum here, because both sides not really gelling early on here. 9 minutes gone, it's 3-0, and this game is not 100% settled. It's not one that you would say is 100% on top of their textbook work that they've been doing behind the scenes in the time leading up to it, and so they'll want to improve. The frustrating thing, I'm sure, for the Bristol coaches is that they've been playing their own rugby recently. The South African A side only meeting before this tour. Williams with the feed now. Into the scrum it goes, and out the back there, and there's a knock on immediately from Feinberg and Ngomazulu. I mean, it's that kind of schoolboy era type stuff that they'll want to weed out. It's a simple throw out the back of the scrum, and the first receiver is the fly half, number 10, and he's just fumbled that. So they have another scrum, but now this time about 30 meters in from the sideline and the near side touchline, and it's about on the 10-meter line of the Springboks, but it'll be a Bristol feed. These two sides, both coming off a loss in their last encounter. Munster beating South Africa handsomely, 28 points to 14. But Saracens trouncing Bristol Bears in their last game at 25 points to 10. And then another hammering before that, where they lost to Northampton, 45 points to 31. But they had a fantastic win against Bath, not allowing Bath to cross the whitewash or go through the polls. Feed now. Into the scrum it goes, and it's not really going anywhere. South Africa looking like they're giving a bit of problems here to the Bristol men. Williams putting pressure on the number 8 at the back, Fitzharding, but able to retain possession. Where were the Bears? Williams still lurking around there, and he nearly gets an intercept. That was a great bit of work there from Williams, putting pressure on the outside center, Piers O'Connor. Now it goes through the hands, out to the wing on the near side of the park. Ibitoye had a blunder early on, but can he recover from it? Cuts back inside, and the ball is popped out of the ruck there. Tries to give it away, does Porter, but somebody else is having to do the work for him as Callan Sheedy hoofs this one high into the air. On the 10-meter line, who's going to catch it? It'll be a Bristol Bears man. It is Luke Morahan. On the far side touchline, he's got a lot of support from his men. Porter working hard now to dig it out the back there. Again, he's into the middle of the park. Ball going through their hands nicely, and South Africa trying to upset the Bristol Bears with their rush defense. Not coming for them, and Henko van Wyk is the one who has to try and clean up defense, and some support from his teammates there, because there was a Bristol man who came in from the side, and that is disappointing from him. But it is a tough
Sweet
time
relief
for both sides. Yes.
Sweet relief for the Springboks there. The Bristol Bears exposing exactly the same vulnerabilities in the Springbok defense that Munster did last week. They just know that these guys are nervous. They are trying to get into the into the big show, and they're just exploiting those nerves expertly at the moment. Bristol Bears taking a few cues from Munster last week. Just get in their faces, just play rugby normally, and these guys are going to fold. And the Springbok A side obliging. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing so far. Nobody really putting up their hands, as they say. Let's see. It's only 13 minutes gone in the first half, and South Africa A side do lead by 3 points to 0 against the Bristol Bears at the what is that place called again?
Ashton Gate.
Ashton
replacement here for Bristol Bears. We'll see number 19, John Hawkins, come on the park, and I wonder if that's an HIA assessment, but nevertheless, Jan Thomas makes his way off the park, so we'll just see how it goes. Hugo Venter finding his jumper that time, who looked like Jenkins, and it is, and so carry now up to the 10-meter line for SAA. Feinberg and Ngomazulu thumping this out wide, looking for his left wing, Leolan Zas, but nobody is able to get on the end of it, and Van Wyk is having to do the cleanup work in terms of defensive efforts there. Bristol inside their own 22. Desperately calling for more men to extend his ruck is Porter. Box kick out the back, and that'll go straight out into touch. And South Africa will reset for a throw on the 10-meter line of Bristol.
Now let's see what these Springboks can do. Springbok A side on attack. They've got a few potent players in their back line. They've got some young talent in the fronts, in the scrum. So that's going to be
wayward from the Springboks there at the back, and now Bristol come through the middle of the park. Ball going through their hands. It's almost coast-to-coast stuff near side of the park, and the broadcaster's fallen down. No, wait, the broadcaster is back. Right, middle of the park. Here we go. Hawkins doing some hard work there to try and break things up. Now it's thumped away by Sheedy, looking to find some empty space behind the SA defense. Back inside goes number 14, Hartzenberg. Suleiman Hartzenberg playing for the DHL Stormers. Held up here. Great bit of counter-rucking by Bristol because they seem to have turned this ball over. Now South Africa having to defend. This is poor from an SA side. This is a national B side, so to speak, and to let the ball be turned over like that. Cuts away, goes Porter. He hands it off to his number 5, Joe Batley. He's brought down outside the 18-yard area of the football field. Late tackle there by Jenkins. And South Africa now having to try and defend a penalty advantage. Porter goes through the middle there, but is disrupted. And so the referee says there was an offside. And there will be a penalty to the benefit of the Bristol Bears. And they might just go for the 3 points here.
Yeah, thank you so very much for watching. Couple of technical difficulties on my side. So once again, Coach Dave Midgley at Coach Dave 93 on Twitter. Just bear with us, and you'll get the rest of it.
To be fair, the Bristol broadcast is also falling away
this
through
is
the...
looking a little bit better than last week. What do you say?
If you're wondering why there's a break in play, the TMO Welshman Ian Davies is just having a look at head-on-head collision there between Jenkins and Fitzharding, and then also an offside there from Ruan Nokia. So South Africa's locks in trouble at the moment. I would like to believe that it is an improved performance, but we're not expecting this side to be slick in terms of their execution of moves. It's a side that doesn't play together ever, let alone consistently. Let alone 1 or 2 games, because this is nearly a completely different side from the last week. I think there's 5 changes in this side. But the point that I'm trying to make is that I just want the basics done well. I want good scrummaging. I want good lineouts. I want good handling. And crucially, I want them to be communicating on defense. When you are communicating on defense, and we're still waiting for the TMO's decision on that, as referee Gianluca flexes his massive forearms here, trying to emulate Joseph Dweber, the South African hooker. And good evening to Raymond Janssen van Rensburg. Nant se julle twee. Well, goeienaand to you too, sir. But you just want the basics done well. Good passing, good handling, and good execution of what you expect the basics to be at this level. And we're not seeing that.
Yeah, because if you can't execute the basics at this level, then your coach is going to say, well, why would I teach you anything else? You can't kick, you can't pass, you can't catch. So you can't play rugby. So get thee gone. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That type of thing.
And you and I were chatting just before we came on air about South Africa.
And it's difficult at this level. Let's not forget that, because you can be good at so many other levels, and then
I think that's 100%. The referees are still having a
look go at ahead. But sorry.
These sides, these, not so much our opposition, but these South African A sides are guys that want to have been, or could in the future be involved in a South African Springbok side, and particularly as they head towards a Rugby World Cup and to 2024 and beyond, because I think there are some youngsters in here. There's guys that, could have the opportunity here to maybe not start, but certainly find their way onto the bench. We saw at number 10 how there's been such a gap for the Springboks and how they've struggled to really give Damian Willemse the opportunity that he wants, because I think in the mind of the South African selectors, they would want Willie Leroux and Damian Willemse as their two, their two fullbacks as their first choice, with maybe Fassi as their third. But with Pollard and Yankees out, they've had to kind of mix and match as required. And so I think that's where, they've had to fix some of those options. And guys like Moni Libok have put their hand up and said, yes, I want to be a part of the South African side. And Feinberg and Ngomazulu's, is equally as talented at number 10. And there's so many opportunities elsewhere for all of these guys to put their hand up. Maybe not at wing. That's maybe the only place that I could say, listen, I don't think you're going to get in a hurry. Purely because if you think of Kane and Moody and Kurtley Arendse and Cheslin Colby and Makazole Mapimpi and these guys, and Spoon Corsi, probably you'd throw him in that mix as well. Going into 2023 and 4, it's a hard decision because you've got a guy like a Piwet Yanti who's a former Springbok wing. So there's a lot of opportunities for guys to make their way into the side, but you have to fight and you've got to be excellent in the face of perhaps mediocrity. Raymond Janssen van Rensburg says Willie out, Fussy in. He played last week for the South African A side. Didn't do horrendously, but didn't. For me, he didn't.
Yeah, he tried to inject himself into everything, and that's why I highlighted his comment, because that sort of ties in what you were saying, Coach Dave. And the competition for places is healthy, and the fact that we are actually talking about who's going to play, who's going to be number 15, who's going to be number 14. And by the way, if you're listening, there is a break in play. The TMOs are deciding which rules of rugby they're going to actually implement. We'll tell you once they've sorted out.
They're winding the VHS back
twisted his knee. Yeah, a guy twisted his knee because he was tackled by that looks like who's that? Kobus Reinach. Some South African. Yeah, some South African tackled the guy, and then the guy buckled his knee, and then now the TMOs are going to decide.
Fitz Harding is the man who's got a rubber knee.
Let's not go there. Let's wait for the decision, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. Once we've informed and well-formed opinions. Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then I think the whole idea of a 45-man squad. It's nice to have 3 number 10s, 3 number 12s, 3 number 13s. We've got 45 number 14s and 11s and 15s. We've got props coming out our arse. We've got, you shake a tree, there's a lock that falls out and wants to play for the Springboks. So that's amazing. Amazing.
That's I think the difference between I suppose those who follow One World Sports Radio will know that we our main bread and butter has been cricket for a long time, and there you're scraping to say, well, who do we pick in South Africa's middle order? But here you've got so much for you, going for you. So we'll see how this goes. Referee Gianluca is now given a yellow card, and he's sent number 4, Jason Jenkins, off the field. So he'll spend the next 10 minutes off the park. So 1 second gone past the 15-minute mark, and it is still 3-0.
Yeah, he was sent off for playing rugby. Yeah.
Welsh chairman.
He was sent off for playing rugby. I don't think the coaches are going to...
Yeah, it's just I think it's just it's like you said, that's why he's not been given a red there. There's head-to-head contact, but I don't think it was perhaps of the line of our famous Peter Steph du Toit, who's now sitting out for the next 3 weeks, including Rassie Erasmus, who's out for 2 weeks for his comments on Twitter. So I think they can just
3 weeks. What?
Penalty. 3 weeks for Peter Steph du Toit, 2 weeks for Rassie Erasmus, and 4 weeks for Antoine Dupont. That penalty goes through the sticks, and then Bristol.
You're joking.
Scores 3 points each. 15 and a half minutes gone here.
This is the first I've heard of this.
Yeah, it was very late this afternoon that it came out. Tweet us at One World SR.
Say it and so, man.
At Coach Dave 93.
Oh, man.
Right, Feinberg and Ngomazulu will get us underway once again. 3 points
3
each.
weeks.
3 weeks. Feinberg and Ngomazulu. This one,
Oh.
not as far as you would expect, right into that 22, and immediately Springboks swarming the Bristol receiver there, just inside their own 22. Porter looking now for options left and right. There's not many left. He's only got his wing, Ibitoye, and so he decides to kick that one into touch, and that'll go out maybe just shy of halfway. Yeah, it'll be the 10-meter line of Bristol is where the assistant referee comes to a halt, and he is going to be telling Andre Hugaventer, just remind yourself, throw straight, because Brian Byrne had some challenges with his first throw earlier in this encounter. 17 minutes on the clock, and Mkunu is just trying to direct traffic. South Africa with a 5-man line out. They go to Nokia. Good bit of work there from the Springboks as they maul this one up. They're still holding on to Nokia, but he doesn't have the ball any longer. Referee says use it once, and there goes Williams out the back. He goes to Cornel Hendricks, tries to find a gap by cutting inside, not able to do it. Nokia on the inside, supporting his man with Mkunu and Hugo Venter. Detroit, the captain, driving this one up over the 10-meter line. Williams now with Feinberg and Ngomazulu tries to cut back inside. Offside is the referee's call, and a penalty advantage is coming. Henko van Wyk, Lions man, trying to find his way through the Bears. No Leicester Tigers yet, but oh my, this game could be better. Good bit of handling there to recover. Mkunu looking for an option to Hugo Venter, not having anything come right for him, but he goes now to the near side of the park. Does Williams at the back of the ruck. Norkia in the ruck there, and the referee says, well, everybody come to a halt. We'll go back and carry on whence we were interrupted for a penalty.
This is looking much better from the Springbok A side. The dirt trackers that we saw last week, these guys look like they actually want to play for the box. Good presentation of the ball, good protection of possession. The Bristol Bears, unfamiliar tactics, unfamiliar team that these players from the Springbok A side have not seen probably in their careers, probably only on TV in the team sessions. And if you are a Bristol Bears fan, we are firmly green-colored glasses here, Springbok fans, One World Sports Radio from South Africa. Thanks for joining us. Tell your friends. And it's going to be a penalty kick to South Africa. 3 points all, 19 minutes gone in the first half.
Right. Now, Ngomazulu, Feinberg Ngomazulu, double barrel surname. There's a lot of those. Andre Hugo is another one who's got a double barrel first name. Got an opportunity to kick. He's right in front of the poles here, so you would back him to be able to slot this one. 1 from 1. He steps up, and the late, great basketball player Kobe Bryant was, I'm sure, invoked there as he smashed that one through the post. 6 points to 3 is where South African 15 lead Bristol Bears as we head towards the 20-minute mark. First 20 minutes of this half, and South Africa, after quite a lengthy break at the 15-minute mark, I'm sure they had a hard talking to from Captain Du Toit, making sure that they sorted things out. Great catch there just outside his own 22 there from South Africa's number 15, Johnny Lombard. Are they able to get over the gain line? Are the Springboks? Williams setting up for a box. Does he go? Yes, he goes over the top, and nobody really looking to chase that down, but Zas will give it a go. Not able to find his man there as Luke Moran is the recipient. On the halfway line is Porter looking for a forward, and he finds one immediately. Good presentation there out the back. Porter this time goes to the boot, looking for Diego Bailey there. Taken out in the air was a South African jumper, but away he goes, Joe Bately, breaking through South African tackles. 1, 2, and 3, and he ends up on the 5-meter line there. Bristol with an opportunity to cross the whitewash. Porter thinking about the cross kick there, not going through with it. He goes to the hands here. Out wide, Ibitoye. Is he owing over? No, it's a fantastic bit of cross defense there from the South Africans. Wow, oh wow, that could have gone so wrong for the South Africans, 3 meters out of the try line, and Cornel Hendricks comes across there to chuck the number 10, Callum Sheedy, out into touch, and South Africa A will have a throw.
Oh my goodness. I didn't see that. I was just listening to you, Coach Dave. That's a good sign from this A side, not surrendering their try line so easily. That's amazing. Love it.
Hugo Venter finds his jumper in Nokia. South Africa continuing with their same jumper. Held up just inside his own 22 is Marco van Staden, a man who'd love to get back to the South African colors of the Springboks. Long line here at the back of the ruck. Oh, that kick is charged down, and it'll go over the in-goal area on the near side. Boy, oh boy, great bit of work there from Bristol's number 5, Joe Bately. Boy, oh boy, he broke through earlier with a bit of ball carrying, but in this instance, charging down the kick, and the man who was supposed to be blocking was not even at home. The lights were on, but no one was home there.
Yeah, I did see that. That was a failure of the centipede, the worm, by the Springboks, and Bristol making them pay. They've got some guys who are trying to sign their own contracts here, and if they can put up a good performance against these next level Springboks, they will be signing their own checks, and they know it, and they're playing as if they do. So it's a 22-meter dropout by the Springboks coming into the hands of Bristol outside their own 22. Another kick.
Right, now
and
the Springboks
in the hand of the Springboks. Yeah, let's go. Yeah.
It's 6-3 to
another
SA,
kick.
15. Somebody was asking Jonathan O'Neill, saying, "What's the score?" And we've got 6-3. Out wide is Bristol, looking to get their way over that 5-meter line. South Africa having to rush their defense. Porter picks a forward instead of going wide to his backs. You're almost certain that he will go to a back now. Pick and go from Bristol. Can they find their way through the South African defense? Trying to work their way through the South African defense with Hawkins. And the referee blows his whistle, and hands in the ruck is the call there. Andre Hugo Venter in combination with Elrich Lowe are the guilty party. About 7 meters out from the try line, and you wonder if Bristol won't just kick this one into touch on the near side. It looks like they are going to be doing that. So 24 minutes gone at Ashton Gate, and South Africa in their select 15 lead the Bristol Bears 6-3. They've changed their mind, and they're going to go for a kick through the poles, and Thomas du Toit is just having a word with the Italian referee, trying to clarify where his men have gone wrong there. But referee Gianluca is not interested in having a chat with him. Gnecchi or Gnecchi, maybe I'm just butchering his Italian, like gnocchi, but maybe Gnecchi is his name. A late change, as we said, but nevertheless,
something along those lines.
Doing a good job and slotted through now. So 6 points each as Sheedy hits that one through the poles. 25 minutes gone in this first half between South Africa Select 15 and Bristol Bears. If you are joining us for the first time, good evening. Hello, welcome. You are listening to One World Sports Radio. My name is Coach Dave, at Coach Dave 93, Dave Midgley. Alongside me is Otto Simon at Ozmaster on Twitter. Follow us on Twitter. Not us personally, but if you want to, by all means, at One World SR, go to patreon.com/One World SR. It helps by you just watching. So please, Facebook, like our page, and also like our YouTube channel, like the video rather, and like the YouTube channel. Kickoff underway once again. Ibitoye going into contact with the South African, and now Porter's having to dig this one out of the back of that ruck. His defenders nearly getting it wrong there, because that went through the hands of Thomas du Toit trying to cut that one off. Right. Now Feinberg Ngomazulu sends it into Lombard, who hangs this one high in the air, and it'll fall comfortably for the South Africans, because now they're putting pressure on. Porter throws it away to his fullback Moharahan, who gets up to the 22-meter line before he's brought down by Andre Hugo Venter. South Africa screaming, and there's a penalty advantage coming there, and their referee says not rolling away from the South Africans. So there will be now a penalty for Bristol. And I really thought there, because the referee had his arm vertically aloft with his left arm, which is indicating a penalty for Bristol, but then has his right arm perpendicular to the ground, which makes, or parallel to the ground, which makes me think that it's a South African penalty. So nevertheless, confusion averted. And halfway is just 1 meter inside of halfway is where Bristol will take this throw. Everybody sets up very quickly. Nechi turns around and says, all right, let's go. Jumper found right at the back, and South Africa nearly turn it over. There's a knock on, and the referee blows his whistle and says, oh, hold on, everybody take a deep breath. Knock on there by the Bristol jumper, and so South Africa will have a put into the scrum. I want to see a different approach to the scrum here. Mkunu and Dutoy are props that have played for South Africa, and I want them to show Hugo Venter how they're going here. South Africa, remember, don't have... they do have their full scrum, rather, because Nokia and Jenkins are back together. So full strength scrum here for the South Africans. And I want the experience of the tight, or the pack, everybody in the pack besides Andre Hugo Venter have played for the Springboks. So I want to see Springbok level scrumming here, not their respective sides in terms of how they approach the scrumming here. Williams with
it's looking better so far by the Springbok A side, I must say.
Popped up there, and so everybody's stood up, and the referee says, well, we'll take it again. Feed that one once again. The hooker for Bristol Bears, Brian Byrne, double Burr, standing up there. And so the referee says, we'll start the evening there. If you're a South African watching this game or joining in on our radio broadcast, 9 degrees Celsius is the temperature there. So really a difficult game to be playing for the South Africans. 89% cloud cover and humidity in the 90% as well. So an expectation of rain possibly, but no rain has begun to fall yet at this Ashton Gate. And now I'm having a bit of technical difficulties, but I'm sure I'll be able to bring you the game once we do get our pictures back here. But it's an important game for these players here. I don't know if you've got pictures in front of you.
South Africa in the middle of the park onto the 10-meter line of the Bristol Bears. Sending it high is the number 10 for South Africa. It's going to come down into the 22, marked by the number 15. Tap and go quickly. Kicked down the far side touchline by the Bristol Bears. Caught on the 22 of South Africa. Sends it up again to the South African players. And that's a forward pass. Referee Shirley, the number 9, makes it onto the 10-meter line of the Bristol Bears. And that is where my technical difficulties catch up with me. So a bit of a ping-pong battle. Let's see where the ball pops out. Yep.
Right, there you go. So I'm with you, and it's popped out there for number 5. Joe Batley's having an absolute screamer of the game. The referee eventually blows his whistle and says, South Africa, you're coming in from the wrong side. And Gianluca Nietzsche says it'll be a penalty for Bristol. Presumably, they'll kick this one into touch on the far side of the park. Half an hour gone in this game, just 10 minutes to halfway. Scores are 6 apiece, and this is a much better performance from the SAA side. No tries yet in this game, which we did see from Zas in that game, was the man to open the scoring. But this one just inside, on the 22-meter line there from the assistant referee on the far side of the park. So South Africa now having to defend this one inside their own half, deep into their own territory with 10 minutes to go. And you would suspect that if there is to be a try, it will come in this final 10 minutes of the half. Looking for his jumper is Byrne. He threw skew earlier in the game, but referee says he's happy with that one, and so finds his jumper. No fuss. At the back of the ruck there is Jake Heenan, the flanker, and he was playing a bit of a scrum half there. Drive with the forwards just towards the 22-meter line. Porter looking for options. He's not keen to use his backs all that much, preferring to crash ball with the forwards. And as I say that, he throws it to one of his backs and is immediately swamped by a man in green. Directing traffic, you can see there off the ball is Callum Sheedy. Now the ball come to the near side, trying to disappoint the South Africans. It's back inside to number 11, and Ibitoye has the first try of this game. He just got the ball cut inside, and he crosses the whitewash just after the half-hour mark. And I said it, if it was going to come, it's going to come in the next 10 minutes. And precisely what was called Ibitoye, Gabriel Ibitoye, first try of the match for him, and Bristol leads South Africa by 11 points to 6. Referee hasn't, I don't think he has sent it upstairs yet, but great bit of work there from Bristol.
That was just champagne rugby. Just the ball beating the man, draw and pass, and let's see. No, the final pass there from the man on the touchline inside to the try scorer with the open goal in front of him, the open try line, falling down behind the Springboks line. That is Gabriel Ibitoye, and he gets a score against the Springbok A side for Bristol Bears. It's 13 points to 6, 7.5 minutes to go in the first half. The conversion was not successful. Kicker running back. Let me update the score because I've got to score this one myself.
He did convert it, so it's 13 points to 6. Yeah, Raymond Janssen van Rensburg saying, "What radio station are you guys on?" We're
13
on
points to 6. Of course, you're right.
One World Sports Radio.
You are with us. This is where we are. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's right.
We bring you.
You're in the right place. Don't go anywhere. Do not adjust your dial.
Exactly. Game back underway, and this one from Foster is just kicked out into touch, just shy or between 10 and halfway of the Bristol half there. But South Africa really needs to catch a wake up here. If they're going to let simple tries like that go through, they're going to be under pressure here. I'm surprised that before every lineout, the South Africans are having a conference here. They're having a team huddle, hands on knees, and deciding what they want to do. It just seems unnecessary delay as we see another hooker, Joseph Dweber, who had a torrid time against the Lions for his Western Province. Nevertheless, out the back goes Williams. Now held up in midfield. South Africa swarming with their forwards, literally 2 meters away from the center spot. Going out wide there, Cornel Hendricks finding himself in an almost a wing position, but nevertheless cutting back inside, preventing it from going into touch. Feinberg Ngomazulu with a great flat pass there to Mkunu. Now Feinberg Ngomazulu waiting very late there before he passes. This one gets away to Cornel Hendricks and he's knocked it on. That's a poor bit of work here. Advantage now for Bristol as they get over halfway. Ibitoye with the ball in hand. He's brought down just on halfway. Ball going now to Jay Keenan. Not able to get across the halfway line yet. Kicks it up and over the top, does Sheedy. Collected by number 15, Johnny Lombard. Advantage over, and so South Africa will now have the opportunity to perhaps boss this game and get themselves within a couple. Feinberg Ngomazulu thumps this one high into the air. It'll come down for Ibitoye, but he doesn't want it, and neither does his fullback, Luke Morahan. Eventually, Morahan picks it up and goes. Now, South Africa trying to upset things with Thomas Tutoy. Nevertheless, referee saying you can't come in that direction. Thumped high into the air from Sheedy. Is there a recipient? There is. A South African with a good catch there. It was Lombard who got underneath that one. Williams.
Ooh, I tackle there.
Trying to go to the near side. The blind side. Blind side is where he's looking to go. Is he going to go to Mkunu? No, he box kicks and gives an opportunity to Hartzenberg to chase that one. Not a good kick at all. Chased down from the Bristol attempt to clear that ball away. Kicked back. And now Bristol are on their own 2-meter line. How are they going to be able to get out of jail here? South Africa throwing men into this ruck and
Bristol!
tackle area. Can South Africa turn this ball over? Yes, they can. 5 meters out. Is there anybody who wants this ball? Is it going to be held up, or are they going to be able to dig that ball out? Referee saying, yes, they're able to dig it out. Bristol and South Africa want this ball. Rucking and counter-rucking. Going to the forward to try and get out of jail here. Oh, Bristol. Batley is going there, but he's got ample support there. An extension of the ruck here means that Porter is going to have to thump this away. He does so, and does he find touch? Yeah, he does on the far side of the park, and big hands up there from Porter to say, what on earth was that?
Oh, that was so close by the Springboks. That sure. We call this ref Shirley, because surely you should have seen that, ref. Oh,
South Africa not having
got
the
it
best
for
time.
the Springbok A team, but they are still on attack, still with possession, and the guys are looking like they're gelling a bit better than a week ago. Let's see what can they do.
Just 3 minutes now to
Jason Jenkins
go
is
to
there.
halfway. Feinberg Zulu. Right, hand it off there to Marco van Staden. In the middle of the park. It's a kick into the 22-meter line. South Africa have to get their hands on it, or there's going to be a mark called. There's an opportunity there, and not cleanly taken. And now South Africa are attacking on the 2-meter line of Bristol Bears. They're right in front of their pole, so it's going to be difficult for them to be able to dictate play here. Referee saying all things are good there. Pick and go just over their own try line. Having to do a lot of hard work here, but they've managed to keep things in their own possession. Will they pick and drive with another forward again? They've been brought down inside their own in-goal area, and South Africa will have a penalty. It'll be a 5-minute scrum, no doubt, as that ball is dotted down inside the in-goal area of Bristol Bears. South Africa A are not giving this game any opportunities to be dominated by Bristol Bears. It's 13 points to 6 to Bristol, but there's 2 minutes left in this game, as Raymond Janssen van Rensburg says, lol, I am streaming you guys, and I love it. Well, we love you, Raymond Janssen van Rensburg. Baie dankie, vragtig, kragtig, en prachtig, because South Africa have a 5-minute scrum outside of Bristol's try line. So an opportunity here for the men in green and gold to really show their mettle in the ruck and tackle and phase play here, because they are all held up here are the forwards. So it's going to be important to see that the guys get out of the scrum so that they can support their backs as they look to get over the try line. Nobody on the blind side for the number 11. Referee's not happy with that scrum, and so they'll have to go again. Leoland Zas on his own there, but he's got 2 defenders watching him. So slaps on the backs and on the shoulders of the forwards of Bristol to try and reset there and get it right. Everybody's removing the contents of the field on their shoes. And there's going to be a reset here from the scrum time, and technical difficulties on my side means that I'm briefly unsighted.
Yeah, scrum is reset. 5 meters out from the Bristol try line, 20 meters from the far side touch line. Box playing left to right on our screens. They're going to set for another scrum here. Let's see. Springbok put into the scrum. From the far side, this time some more players on the blind side, and the referee gives a scrum penalty to the Springboks. Scrum penalty to the Springboks. Well deserved there. The Bristol players just caving underneath the pressure of the high caliber front row. And it's Thomas de Toy, the captain, puts the ball down on the ground. He's pointing to the Bristol players saying, you've got to stay there, and he's going to rumble it up. And it's going to be a pick and go, by South Africa. How big are your guys? Our guys are bigger than your guys, says South Africa A team. They're over the try line, but not yet there. They've got to recycle this ball. South Africa A under the posts and over the try line. Now, another pick and go here. And it's spread wide to just outside the line of the poles. Bristol Bears defending for all they're worth. And another pick and go here, dropped by South Africa A, knock on by South Africa A. scrum to Bristol on their 5-meter line, right in front of their own posts.
That'll be half time, I think, with the Hooter having gone. So Marco van Staden dropping it with the goals in front of him. He was literally all he needed to do was take it and go. Not able to kind of see the try line for what it was. He thought it was a mooi van ver, but in truth, it was something that you could certainly take home to your mother and father. But nevertheless, halftime at Ashton Gate. It is 13 points to 6. Bristol Bears lead South Africa A. Please, in the halftime break, don't go anywhere. We'll be with you as we will not leave you unattended. Don't worry. You can follow our YouTube channel by clicking the subscribe button and ringing the bell so that you know exactly when we are going live. We have podcasts in football, in cricket, in our broadcasts in rugby and cricket. And so please keep an eye on us. Ring the bell. You'll know exactly when we go live. I'll tell you exactly when we go live next. And that's for South Africa versus Italy. Italy off the back of their victory over Australia. And then the South African side that's struggled in this end of year tour, losing by 3 points and then 4 points respectively. So we definitely want to turn that around. Do the South African fans. Mornay Nell is saying, where can we stream? Well, you can stream with us because we are bringing you live radio commentary on One World Sports Radio at 1WSR.com, at Ozmaster, at Coach Dave 93, Facebook as well. That's where you're joining us from, Mornay and Raymond. Thank you for joining us. And we are happy to be with you for this game this evening. South Africa A struggling in this encounter, looking a little bit more structured, but it was just that lapse of concentration in defense that gives us the try from Gabriel Ibitoye. And we will hopefully see an improved performance from the South Africans as they head into the second half of this encounter. Ashton Gate, normally a football field or a football pitch rather, not as wide as you would expect, and seemingly a little bit narrower than usual. Almost for those of you who are South African sports fans, you'll know what it's like watching a game at Bidvest Stadium back in the day. Very similar in that regard. So it's a tough game for the South Africans. A lot of handling errors are the reason for the South Africans' poor performance here. And so we hope that they will be able to improve going into the second half. So we are going to leave you for the halftime break. We'll be back with you just after halftime for the second half. Don't go anywhere. Just keep us in the background. Go get yourself a cup of coffee because we still have another 40 minutes of fantastic rugby. Please don't forget, like this video on YouTube as well as Facebook.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Full Quarter Podcast. My name is Mpho Mutlani, and I've got Tim Delace with me to talk all things happening in South African cricket. Obviously, we'll talk about the Cricket World Cup, but we are a South African cricket podcast, and remember, you can let your friends know. Please do subscribe to our One World Sports Radio channel. We also have an audio podcast on Anchor, as well as Anchor Podcast, as well as Apple Podcasts and Spotify. So please do go check us out there. We also have a Patreon account if you want to just drop in some cash. Weren't even giving you the same thing; they were just sitting up. So I'm sitting there going, "You see it? So then, take one over from all your 4 bowlers and give them all to Markram." And let Keshav and Markram try and bowl you back into this game. And yes, they're not scary. They're not going to scare them. But they'll give you, because these guys are going to try and slug them out the ground. And you're going to get joy from there. And the Aiden got the wicket. Keshav got wickets. So that was the other decision for me. I was like, okay, guys, I understand. We went in with what we went in. I get it. But then the other thing for me with all of this was the lines and lengths, Tim. Why were we bowling Perth and Sydney lengths? I don't know. I was baffled to find out that these guys were still trying to go short, and they got punished for it. And then when they went full to correct it, they were overcorrecting. So then my question was, did you guys even have a strategy meeting? To me, Tim, it felt like these guys were given a rest weekend or rest couple of days, and were told to come back to the hotel on Saturday at 12 in the afternoon. There was no team meeting even then. And when they came back into the hotel, the team list was put on the main team board, probably on the corridor there, to be like, you're playing. And guys woke up and they just were playing. That's how what it looked like. It looked like nobody actually communicated anything, And it was interesting because the person who actually bowled well yesterday was Anand Nokia. He hit his lines very well. So it kind of also tells me that there was a team meeting. Somebody listened, and the others necessarily didn't. But that's how it looked like, and all of these things just lead to not even the team's ability. It's that extra level above the team where it's coach, captain, selectors, and that staff. It's a lack of preparation.
The other thing I didn't understand is they were 130 for 4, I think. 130 for 4 with 2 overs to go. I think they scored 30 in those last.
No, they were 115, and they scored 31 or something, or 120, and they scored 31 in the last.
That's right, 120. That's right. So then you go to Rabada for your penultimate over. He's had a bad day. You've got Ackerman on strike. Ackerman is just sort of getting in, sort of run a ball, sort of score at the moment. You don't have a mid-on, a deep mid-on, a deep mid-off, or a third man. So there's no deep mid-on, no deep mid-off, no third man. You've got 3 on the leg side. In front of square, behind square, and square leg. 3 for the hook shot. His 6 balls were all full, and there wasn't a single short ball in those 6 balls.
Yeah.
They either went over Midoff's head, or they went over third man for 6.
Yeah. And
please tell me what that was. It makes no sense to me at all. Make no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's my and like I don't like it was just to a certain extent, Tim, it was a mess. It was completely a mess. And so now here's the thing, right? The moment Netherlands went big and started going big, but you have them 113 and you're like, okay, I need to go to my strike bowler. This is the moment my strike bowler breaks the game for me. He did not. And we need to have a conversation about that. We need to have a conversation about Kagiso Rabada and his inability to be able to break the game for this team open. I love Kagiso a lot, but I honestly do think that maybe we did not make... And everyone was talking about, no, drop the captain. Guys, there were other people in this team that needed to be And I know it's hard. Like, and for me, that's the problem about cricket. And to a certain extent, for sport, you will give your better players longer rope to hang themselves. And when you look back, you're like, I actually should have dropped them a lot earlier. Kagiso in the Pakistan game and the India game wasn't great. Even in the Zimbabwe game, it wasn't great. And there came a time where maybe it was for us to hide him in the middle overs. Because I remember in Pakistan, we didn't even know where to hide him. We couldn't hide him. Every time he came on, 16 runs, 12 runs. It was just like, we're like, oh, okay, we're just leaking boundaries off this oak. And you're like, and with Kagiso, I get it. You just need one good ball. And some balls were really great, and he got cut. Like there was one ball that was a Yorker length in the second over of the match, Yorker length outside the off stump, and I'm assuming it's Myberg. It's literally picked that up like it was a half volley, and it went over Point's head. And I was like, okay, that was good, but unlucky. And to a certain extent, that was it. And so for me, that's what it was. And when you're playing minnows like that, you need to make plays. And that game, our bowlers didn't make plays. But 158 is respectable. It's a gettable target with a batting lineup that you have. Let's go to the other side of the ball. My word. I don't even know where to start. But Quinny and Temba, they started off quite well, okay-ish, little tentative for my liking, but I kind of got that. When you're playing teams like Netherlands and stuff, like they don't, outside of Brandon Glover, they don't have like express pace. So it's unlike you're facing Lungi, KG, and Anna, 130s all the time. You're gonna get guys who are gonna be giving you tricks and slow balls and everything else. And I think South Africa just missed the trick there. And it felt all mental to me because I was like, you guys are trying a little bit too much, and you put yourselves in a hole. And because I was like, okay, Temba, yes. Like all the runner balls, the runner ball 20, Temba, the runner ball 12, Quinton. And you're like, you just never got to that extra level because somehow, somewhere, something just went wrong. And it was either mostly their fault, but it was just like good bowling from the Netherlands who stuck it into South Africa. But, even on the back end when you had Markram and Miller and them getting a little carried away at times and losing their wickets and stuff like that. But to me, it was like we needed somebody to just anchor that innings, and nobody was willing to go back to the Mark Boucher way of doing things of last year of we need to have one guy to anchor this innings to take us to the end. Nobody could do that for us. And we just needed one top 6 batter to go top 5 batter to go up until over 15, reassess and do that. And to a certain extent, that was lost. It was, okay, guys, even in the Pakistan game is slightly different, but essentially.
Welcome back to our broadcast of this South Africa A game versus Bristol, the second of 2 midweek fixtures, or somewhat close to midweek, that you will see. South Africa A taking on Bristol Bears at Ashton Gate. 13 points to 6 is how the home side leads South Africa. If you want to hear more about Mpho and Tim's thoughts around the South African failure at the T20 World Cup, keep watching that podcast. It's called the Full Quota Podcast. As well, they've recently had their thoughts shared with all of us around the Australia Test series coming up and how South Africa have selected those sides. Some surprises there. Guys like Ryan Rickleton, who were fit enough to play in this 4-day round of fixtures, but not in the December Test series. But nevertheless, we're bringing you rugby. 13 points to 6 at One World SR on Twitter, at Ozmaster, at Coach Dave 93. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Ding the bell, and you'll know exactly where we are, when we are, and who we are, because we are bringing you live rugby right now, but also on Saturday, 3 o'clock, South Africa take on Italy from Genoa. South Africa off the back of back-to-back defeats to Ireland and France, respectively. Italy on the back of that victory against Australia, the surprise victory. I was having a look today at some of the stats. South Africa's South Africa's bench has the same amount of caps as the Italian starting 15. And that shows how inexperienced they are, but how wonderful that game could be.
Bristol kicking off left to right, and it's caught inside the Springbok 22. Ball sent out wide to the touchline, and Bristol managed to muscle South Africa over the far side touchline. It's going to be line out to Bristol. Referee has some words to say there. Let's see what the decision is. It's a penalty to South Africa. 5 meters from the far side touchline, inside their own 22. Lucky escape there for the box, for the box A side. And it will be a kick to the far side touchline. The referee's assistant is going to put his flag up just inside the 10-meter line of the Springboks. Matanzima with the instructions to the hooker for South Africa, 5-man line out. And it's a neat little catch there by the Springboks. Bristol trying to muscle the Springboks over the try line once again, but the maul is well set. And now the other players are allowed to join. But dismantled here by Bristol, but Springboks carry on pushing forward to the halfway line. Now they go, and it goes down the back line. Charge down, kick by Bristol, and cleaned up by the South Africans. It's coming to the near side, 5 meters out from the South African try line, and some scrambling attack by the Springboks and into the feet of the right wing of the fullback of Bristol on the near side touchline, and it will be a throw into the Springboks just outside their own 10-meter line.
A bit
scrambling
of
play there by
there.
both sides. Yeah.
Bit of a get out of jail free there for the Springboks. They had an opportunity to really put some pressure from their own 22, and now they've blundered there. And now there was a bit of a brain fade there from one of the Bristol players. The ball was grubbed to the touchline, and then he let it hit his legs before going out.
Yeah, another good maul here set by the Springboks on their own 10-meter line. Going forward now, and penalty advantage. Penalty to the Springboks. Collapsing the maul by Bristol. And so the Springboks have a penalty 10 meters in from the near side touchline and about 8 meters inside their own half. And it is the number 10 for the Springboks, kicking it to the near side touchline. No, he's going to kick it into the hands of the Bristol fullback, who thinks he's going to get a mark, but that was a penalty kick. No, says the referee, can mark the ball of a penalty kick. So the Springboks need to retreat, but they are putting pressure. Yeah. Another kick downfield here by Bristol into the middle of the park. The Springboks with the up and under. The ball's going to come down just inside the Bristol half. Gathered by the Springboks. And now it goes through the hands. Nortje knocks it on. Oh, Nortje, number 5 for South Africa, just knocking it on as he tried to collect that ball. The Springboks trying to take advantage of that turnover possession. And it's not Andries Nortje, it's another Nortje.
Ruan Nortje.
Ruan Nortje. And it will be a knock-on scrum to Bristol. About 16 meters from the near side touchline, just outside the 22. The score is 13 to Bristol, 6 to the Springbok A side, the Dirt Trackers. And we here at One World Sports Radio are very happy to take you through this lull, make you appreciate the sporting weekend that's going to come your way as Bristol and the Springboks set the scrum. And it's a Bristol put-in. Solid scrum by both teams. Static, very static. Second shove by the Springboks, not quite coming through. And Bristol go to the near side, kick downfield, down the near side touchline, caught into the hands of Goosen, who's on the park now for the Springboks. He's going to send it down that tram line. Ping pong here, back to Goosen, who lets it go through his hands backwards. Now Goosen has it again. He's going to send this one down to the tram lines inside the Bristol half. Let's see what the Bristol players can do. It's the try scorer at number 11. Sends it down the far side. Some crash ball runners taking it over the halfway line for Bristol. It's 10 meters out from the 22 of the Springboks. Bristol have possession. They're 5 meters from the far side touchline, 2 meters out from the Springbok 22. Behind the advantage line, tackled now are Bristol. They're sending it down the back line, well behind the advantage line. Is there somebody that's going to break the line? No. It's a knocked back. It's a Springbok player on the ground that almost collected that ball. Now Bristol are back almost to the halfway line. The Springbok swamping the breakdown now. Bristol defending well and breaking to the near side are the Bristol players. Now they're trying to give the ball some air because they're trying to avoid the contact. They are just over their own halfway line, behind the advantage line on the 15-meter line are Bristol now. And the Springboks get a penalty. Holding on is the call by the referee. Good work there by the Springboks on the ground. They win the ball back, and they are 15 meters from the near side touchline, just inside their own half. And it's going to be a penalty kick to the near side of the field. No thought of the 3 points. And that is a great kick there by the number 10 for South Africa.
Yeah, Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu really making sure he got that one into touch after the previous one was a
Feinberg and Ngomazulu.
Yeah.
And so
Goosen
it
coming
will
on the
be,
park.
what is that Venter guy? Somebody Venter.
Andre Hugo Venter.
Andre Hugo Venter, there we go. On the near side touchline, on the 22-meter line, and the Springboks set them all. Well set there by Norkia once again. Andre Hugo Venter digging for the ball. He's got that in the boot there of the ruck. A bit static by the Springboks, but they are moving forward a little bit. And it goes down the line now to the middle of the park. There's an overlap there for the Springboks if they want to use it, but they chose to go through the middle. Now, Bristol have set their defense on the far side. Still the Springboks pick and go, pick and go. Matanzima! Matanzima is over! Matanzima has got the try for the Springboks. 5 points to the Springboks.
Yeah, just a great bit of work there by the Springboks. A good bit of work there, particularly by Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu, not going there with the overlap. There was only 1 or 2 men to his outside, going for himself there. At the back was Williams, and all he had to do was hand it over to Ntutuko Mkunu.
Oh,
and,
it wasn't
over he goes, Mchunu.
Ntutuko Mkunu. I have a lady who works with me who's got the same surname. So you say Mkunu.
Yeah, it was a great. He just handed off the would-be defender and said, "You sit down, son. There's a try for me." And you can see the celebration from the men in green and gold supporting there. Just up to the 49th minute now in South Africa with the conversion to come.
Hey, that was beautiful. So,
Raymond Janssen van Rensburg saying, South African team battles with a kicker. You don't think they should add Ruan Pienaar to be there in the team? I'm not sure, as that one is shanked wide there by Ngomazulu. So South Africa trail by 2 points. I don't know, because Cheslin Colby was 100% against France last weekend. So, you know, who am I to argue about kicking when guys are smashing it? You know, he had a tough game against Ireland, no doubt.
Yeah, we've got like 10 or 12 guys who do line up the kicks. That was a bad miss there, I would say, for our number 10 today. But that's the whole point. Just to get, Ngomazulu, just to get these guys used to it. So after the kickoff, Springboks clearing their lines, not finding touch on the near side, and Bristol come back on the Springbok 10-meter line, ruck set up. They're going to go into the 15-meter line, the number 3 bashing through tackles, held up in the middle of the park, and now the referee is going to give a penalty to Bristol because the Springbok tacklers landed up on the wrong side there, trying to hold up the player. And
I wonder why Jenkins just has flown in there. They've decided they want to go for the 3 points, have Bristol, but Jenkins has already been off in this game or two with a, with the yellow. You would think he would be holding back ever so slightly.
Yeah, to me, that's sort of a patronizing move. If you think you can hold up the opposing team's players at your will, that's not a clever game plan. Of course, you could try it, but if you're isolated, and that was the theme for me from last week, as we see Bristol Bears here lining up the kick 5 meters in to the Springbok half, and the flags are up. Over the poles go the Bristol Bears through the boot of their number 10, and they extend their lead to 5 points. Now it's 16 points to 11. Apologies, I actually need to do the scoring as well, so give me
Sheedy's not missed this evening. He's been 4 from 4 with the boot, and that's something that his coaches will be happy with. Their main coach, Kiwi, so he'll I'm sure have been saying to him, just channel your inner Dan Carter. Right, kickoff once again into the 22 of the Bristol Bears, extending that ruck well far back, but Porter now with a box kick. So a lot flatter in its trajectory, and that'll go out just over the halfway line. No, just shy of the halfway line, about school ruler away from the halfway line inside Bristol Bears territory. And South Africa making a triple substitution here, bringing on the likes of their spare bench players. So JJ Kotze, Simpua Mantazima, and Morne Smith coming on the park. Sikhumbuzo Noche also on the park. We've seen Dan du Preez here. So it wasn't rather the replacement forwards, but it was Pepsi Buthelezi, Sikhumbuzo Noche, and Dan du Preez making their way on the park. Ulrich Lowe will make way with some of his teammates here. Right, now, good throw opportunity for JJ Kotze. First one of the game. He's in the game here, and he's immediately chucked it skew. And everybody looks up and says, "What? Hold on, ref, wasn't that straight?" And Gianluca Nucci says, "No, sir, it wasn't." So now penalty to Bristol Bears. Scrum.
Yeah, this is a good test now for these Springbok players. They are behind on the scorecard. They know they can do this if they work together. And what we saw last week was a bit of a disjointed effort at best. Let's see what these guys can do if they manage to make some connections on tour. And
back
the
to
Bristol Bears definitely watching all the videos of these guys playing. Set the scrum now.
Feed by Porter. Through their hands it goes, and Sheedy tries to cross kick to Ibitoye down at the far side of the park, but that'll run out, thankfully, for the South Africans. And Zas thinks about chucking it in, or rather Hartzenberg thinks about chucking it in, and then the referee says, "Well, hold on." And now the assistant referee on the far side changing his mind. Initially, he thought it was it is a Bristol throw. That's surprisingly, it's come off there. I'm not sure where it's come off of a South African body part there, because it was out. And I thought, as a kick like that, surely there's got to be an opportunity here. Now we see Mantazima warming up there. He's going to be on the park as Bristol make a couple of changes as well to their forward pack. Bristol 6 meters out of the South African try line. The throw now, an opportunity for Thacker to really stamp his name on the game. More to come. And Thacker's trying to drive the bus there, but South Africa throwing it out. He pops it away to his spare man, Joe Jenkins. Brought down 8 meters short of the try line. They're desperately trying to get somewhere forward. Thomas Detroit trying to steal the ball away, not able to keep his hands on the ball long enough for the referee to blow the whistle. Pick and drive there from the Bristol Bears through the hands of Piers O'Connor. Now they try and go to the near side of the park, switching directions. Henko van Wyk trying to direct traffic there, and the South Africans looking for a counter ruck. Ball's out already, and nobody's really paying attention to what's going on. Magnus Bradbury into contact he goes. Now with their number 19, Hawkins. Came on earlier in this game for an HIA, but he's back on now again. South Africa masterfully defending, as they're being stretched left and right. Bristol not allowing the South Africans to feel confident and comfortable in any way, shape, or form. Lahif with a pick and drive. Hands in the air from the South Africans, desperately imploring the referee to change his mind. Dutoy in amongst the men there, but Henko van Wyk is having to defend on his own try line. Pushed back are Bristol. Pick and drive there from the back of the ruck. Tough times here for the SAA side. 55-20 on the clock. 16 points to 11 is where the South Africans find themselves. Is it held up? 2 meters short. Ball going wide. South Africa have turned the ball over. Are they able to get it out? Williams now at the back there. Into traffic is immediately where the South African forward finds himself. Williams, is he going to box kick it, or will he send it to Feinberg and Ngomazulu? He goes for the box kick. This one's not chased down. And the hiccups are still with me. Ibi Toye inside South African half. Now he's got a bit of space to run. Brought down by Hartzenberg. But a second tackler having to do the hard work. South Africa with the rush defense. Is there an overlap there? Just a moment of doubt there from Hawkins, rather. I keep calling him Jenkins for not quite sure. Held up there by the South Africans. Now they go to the near side. Options to go run the ball, but goes himself, does O'Connor. Back inside for Bristol. South Africa, this has to be a number of phases. I'd love to know, maybe 20 or more. Now they go out wide. Morahan breaks through one tackle and stumbles and falls just over the 22-meter line. Nobody able to steal the ball away for the South Africans. Hawkins with a pick and drive from his own ruck. Ibitoya now decides he wants to try and break his way through the South African defense. Pick and go. Batley hammering at the door like a SWAT member. South Africa trying to defend valiantly here. Bradbury, 1 meter short. Has it gone over? No. Referee's frantically running around the rock area. Bristol at the door of the South Africans' try line. Held up nicely there by Henko van Wyk. Are they able to keep them over? No, they're not. And Bristol have a try. That'll give them another 5 points and extend the lead to 10 points. What a try there from Bristol. Jan Thomas is the man who stands up from the bottom of the ruck. But boy, oh boy, did they knock loudly on the door of the South African A side. And with a 10-point lead or two, with not much time left on the board, as we head towards the hour mark, 23 minutes remain in this game, and the South Africans have questions to answer.
Yes, indeed. Bristol asking all the questions, and the South African A side, just like last week, coming up. It's going to be difficult for them to explain this to the coaches or anybody else. It's just an amazing performance by Bristol so far. Definitely done their homework on every single one of these players, and you can see what it means as the Bristol player walks off, geeing up the crowd. Another 2 points slotted there for Bristol, so that would mean that I need to update their score to 23.
3 points to 11. Yeah, it was consistent pressure.
3 to 11. My heerlikheid. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's tough to watch as a South African fan. Jan Thomas, Y-A-N-N Thomas, is the man who is now subbed off. Right, South Africa kick things off once again. Smashed on probably 10 meters out by Hartzenberg. Ibitoye in the scrum half position, asking for support from his forwards, getting it now. Up towards the 22-meter line is where they're aiming. Eventually, from the bottom of that ruck comes Porter. Is he going to box kick it? He does. Flatter this time and not as high, and that'll go out into touch. And the assistant referee is not actually out of the field. He's running, about 3 meters inside of the field, maybe trying to see his angles there as Porter shakes his head. Not happy with something there. Maybe having a word with the Italian referee. And as we head to the final 15 seconds of the first hour of this game, Bristol leads South Africa by 12 points. Otto Simon, take us up to the 70-minute mark.
23 points to 11, and it's Norkia in the middle of the line out the box, rumbling across the advantage line now, and the maul is still going 15 meters from the far side touchline. Now they're forced to play it down the middle of the park. Over the 10-meter line of Bristol go the Springboks, and it's a knock-on in the back line. On the near side touchline, it'll be a scrum. No, says the referee. They're going to come back for a penalty advantage to the Springboks somewhere across the far side of the field. Let's see.
My problem, Otto Simon, with this South African side, they've had 3 opportunities, as far as I count, to break the line, and all 3 have been drop catches. It's into the breadbasket.
Yeah, and
it's not like the pass has been bad and they've had to stretch.
Yeah, so the number 10 for South Africa kicks it over the far side touchline. It's going to be a line out to the Springboks once again inside the Bristol 22. And it's going to be tough once again for the Springboks to come away with points if they keep playing like they're playing. And let's see what happens here. It's stolen by Bristol at the back of the line out. The ball goes over the catches, and it's 15 meters from the near side touchline. Go Bristol, but the referee says that's a penalty to South Africa. Bristol did hold on to the ball there. Good work by the outside backs there to save blushes for South Africa. And what's this guy's name again? The number 10. He kicks it over the near side. Feinberg and Gomazulu kicks it over the near side touchline. Penalty kick. And it's going to be a line out to the Springboks about 7 meters from the near side goal line of... No, says the referee, there was something wrong. Gomazulu is shaking his head. He's looks like he's made a mistake of some technical nature there. And it's going to be a scrum to Bristol. In the about 18 meters from the near side touchline, 22 meters out, just outside the 22-meter line of Bristol. So let's see what these South African A players can do against this well-oiled Bristol machine. It's early shove by South Africa, and short on penalty to Bristol. And it's 17 minutes to go. Bristol leads South Africa A 23 points to 11. Can you believe it? I cannot.
Precisely.
But it's a good hard lesson for these guys playing in the green and gold for the first time. Now Bristol as a weak kick goes answered by another weak kick by the Springboks, and it's gathered up by the Springboks just outside the 22 of Bristol, dropped, and now the referee says that's a knock on 6-7 meters from the near side touchline, just inside the 22 of Bristol. The Springboks were hot on the attack there, and one of the players just dropped the ball. The ball was passed rather clumsily into the face, but no excuse at this level. Those are the kinds of passes that you have to expect, catch and score.
It was a great bit of work there from Sukumuzo Noche to break the line there. But in the end, Dan Dupree dropping it at a crucial moment. And it's something I said earlier in this game. You've got to get the basics right. The basics right is not engaging early to a scrum. Basics are catching
Yeah.
the ball. Basics are, I'm not expecting flashy tactics. I just want the guys to get it right. Like you said, at this level, they've got to be better. And again, the South Africans are being penalized.
Now, this time the referee says slipping the bind, folding in by the tight head prop.
Morne
And now the
Smith
Bristol
is-
Bears have a penalty kick inside the 22, 8 or 9 meters from the near side touchline. They're going to banana kick this one, and the RA sends his flag into the air, and it will be Bristol ball. About 3 meters, 2 meters inside Bristol's half. And that's the sad part. The Springboks not converting pressure into points. Bristol getting easy relief. They set their line out very skew, but the referee is happy with that. And the counter ruck, the counter maul is good by the Springboks, moving this maul into the middle of the field rather than to the side. And now breakaway by Bristol. They're over the Springboks halfway line. They're up to the 10-meter line. Box kick by the scrum half. It's going to come down just inside the 10-meter line, 22-meter line, 10 meters in from the near side touch line. And Goosen catches it. And the referee says, no, there was obstruction. So that's a penalty to Bristol.
Lever
So there was
order.
obstruction by the Springboks as that ball was expertly caught there by Johan Goosen, and that's going to be a shot at goal by Bristol. They lead 23 points to 11 with 14 minutes to go in the second half. In this match, they lead by 23 points to 11. They lead by 12 points, and now they're going to put another 3 through the poles here by Callum Sheedy. He's got 100% kicking record. He's got 100% kicking record tonight. Good on him. So let's see if one of his socks might be imbalanced. He might pull it a little bit to the left if he doesn't concentrate correctly, but he sends it sailing through the poles of his home ground. He knows this place better than anybody. And it is 26 points to 11. Einar! Coach Dave. That hurts.
Tough for the South African fans watching as we update our scoreboard to reflect it. But Ngomazulu kicks this one off again. And we saw Nahamba make his way on the park to replace Williams for the South Africans. Was it forward? No, knocked backwards, says referee Nucci. Inside their own 22. Take us, please. Keep going.
Yeah, it's Bristol with a box kick inside their own 22. This ball is going to come down over the far side touchline. Bristol don't care. They've got a lead of 15 points. The Springboks will have to score 3 times. 3 converted tries away from a victory. Here are the South African A side. It's 26 points to 11. There are 12 minutes to go. And it's a throw into the Springboks on the far side touchline. Just about 6 or 7 meters out, they get the ball. They get the maul. In the boot goes the ball. It's going to be a maul by the Springboks down the far side touchline. Bristol are edging them towards the far side touchline, so it goes towards the near side. And it's a breakthrough by Noche. It looks like he's got some support there. He needs much more support. Nohamba with the ball into the middle. And Nohamba once again spreading it to Van Dijk, I think Van Wyk or somebody inside the 22. They go now. The Springboks looking hungry. They've got to score. Matanzima, and now it is number 18 for the Springboks, rumbling over the 15-meter line.
Smith.
The Springboks into the middle of the park, being rumbled back by Bristol. And now it goes to the far side, another pick and go. 1 pass ruck, 2 pass ruck by the Springboks. Advantage, says the referee, to the Springboks. Thankfully, Nohamba goes to the far side. Dan de Pre, it looks like, is driven back in the tackle. Nohamba comes to the near side now. the Springboks looking for some gaps in the defense, and it's Van Wyk. He's about 2 meters short, and a pick and go here by one of the Springbok forwards, and the referee is not happy with that. He says he's going to come back for the penalty. That was oh so close. Much more inventive there by the Springbok A side. That looks a lot better. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, it shows what these guys are actually capable of when they do the basics right. You know, find your jumpers, find your man, catch the ball, scrum well, and their management at the breakdown has been much better. Let's scrum now, and it's going to be an important one for the South African side if they're going to come back in the final 10 minutes here. But enterprising stuff from Muzo Noche. Referee's going to go upstairs and says, everybody, hang on a sec. 19 seconds remaining in the 60.
Yeah, 10 minutes.
70th minute, yeah.
70th minute. Yeah, so 10 minutes to go here for the Boks to score 3 times. Oh, I mean, we call them the Boks. Is the A side. But
give
yeah.
the ball. He seems to be loving running at the Bristol Bears players. One of the Bristol Bears players, you got to say that a couple of times just to feel confident in yourself. If you want to join us as part of the commentary team, admin@1wsr.com. And I agree 100% with Raymond Janssen van Rensburg. South Africa are their own enemies. They're making mistakes. 123%.
Yeah, but then
from the line out, you've got to scrum properly. Basics, as we see Thomas du Toit, hands in his head. Head in his hands, that one.
And it's got to be something that the national coaches have to take cognizance of. These guys need to play together a little bit more.
I agree.
So this is the same. This is going back to the classic tour. You know, you have the dirt trackers, and then you have the main team playing on a Saturday. So this is sort of hopping back. We've been asking for this for a long time because we had these tours that didn't really mean anything, and you had these guys going along on tour and never getting, never their talks never touching the grass. So this is a step in the right direction, and more of this, please. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, the ideal for any, I suppose, sports fan would be to say, okay, you have your main side playing on the Saturday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You have the ladies play on the Tuesday, the A side play on the Wednesday, and maybe your baby box on the Thursday. That would be
you have the ladies playing, and then the men. But sure. We've had these discussions also about the T20 games. But the nice thing is about rugby is 2 hours and it's done.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a good opportunity here for guys, like you said, that may have gone with the squad and think of a guy like Joseph Dweba, wouldn't have gotten a look in this end of year tour. If we'd won 2 for 2, maybe, but he's able to get some time and build his confidence a little bit. Right, scrum feed is the South Africans. They're going to go with
yes, Boka
fielding.
Yeah.
In we go.
Walking around, says the referee.
Yeah, this is a massive scrum from the Springboks, and not what they would have wanted. 7 meters out of the try line, and like you said, they've gone walkies, unfortunately. So they'll have the kick here through Andy Uren.
Oh, thanks for saving my bacon, Coach Dave. One of my best friends got married today, and I was invited this afternoon to a Zoom wedding. So that was quite cool for me. So I do apologize for being a zero on a contract as far as knowing who the players are, and I can just see Coach Dave sending me links to the team sheets. So thank you, Coach Dave, for that, for picking up the slack today. I do appreciate it. Let's go.
Right, Harry Thacker far side of the park with the throw. He's going to look for his jumper in that of Hawkins. Will he find him? It'll be a short throw if he does. No, he goes to his original jumper, Bradbury. Out the back goes Bristol, and boy, oh boy, was that a huge tackle from JJ Kotzer as they go up to halfway line. Kicked away by the replacement scrum half, Andy Uren. And that one's kicked into touch, so they'll go back to where the ball was kicked rather than when it went out, because it was outside of the 22-meter line. So it's important.
Was that the first mistake by Bristol?
Yes, in the 72nd
That was the first
minute of the
mistake.
game.
Yeah.
But it shows the gelling of, excuse me, of these two sides. You know, your ability to know where your man is going to be in your set phases. Right, Norkia with Nahamba. Nahamba throws this with a bullet, and then South Africa summarily drop it. Now, Bristol with space to run at the South Africans. Ball in the hands of Diago Bailey, maybe. Now, Bristol pulling it away, and it's come out cleanly. Hendricks at home, and he's dropped it, and it's thumped away. And boy, oh boy, was that like watching under-9 rugby. You drop it, no, you drop it, no, you kick it, no, you catch it. Boy, oh boy, that was ugly to watch. Nothing pretty there. Right, Rich Lane makes his way away from the scene of the crime.
Yeah, Mornay now saying schoolboy mistakes by both sides. And thank goodness for that, because otherwise the Springboks might have been wearing blushes. Thanks for listening, you guys. We do appreciate it.
Feed now for Andy Uren. The 10 meters in from the near side touchline. Remember, Bristol are playing from left to right. It's a select 15 from right to left. So South Africa now having to defend. Oh, and it's Nahamba that has the ball. I thought for a moment there that it was Uren with the feed, but South Africa with their own feed. And in it goes. Now immediately the Springboks get a penalty. Walking around this time is Bristol, and so back-to-back errors here means South Africa can get out of jail. Thump this one will be thumped away by Johan Goosen, and he does find touch. About the third row, there is some good catching in the crowd. Maybe suggests to the South Africans that if there's an expat that's hanging around, he could be an opportunity. He could find himself an opportunity in this SAA side, because if you can catch, my friend, you might just get into this side. But jokes aside, Kotze with a throw finds his jumper. Nokia having to do a little bit of work there, but Bristol pick it up. The slack at the back. Valiant tackle there by South Africa's Jean-Luc Dupré. Now it's turning around, and South Africa have the ball, and we knock it on. So you knock it on, I'll knock it on, and then we'll just cry about the fact that we've blundered. So scrum now for the South Africans, 20 meters in from the near side touchline, about 10 meters out from their own 22. Good grief, this is horrible.
Score is 26 points to 11, Ruan Swartz.
26 points to 11 at Ashton Gate. South Africa South Africa Select 15 playing their second game. We will be bringing you live coverage of the South Africa-Italy game on Saturday afternoon, 3 o'clock, mercifully a little bit earlier than the rest of the games have been thus far. So please like our Facebook page and ding the bell on YouTube so that you know exactly when we go live. You get those wonderful notifications. And the referee blows his whistle and says, well, everybody take a deep breath. We'll have to restart there. Not happy with it. Nahamba tried to take the ball away there from Andy Uren, but he said, no, son, just have a rest. We'll try reset that. And referee saying, I understand that it's slippery. You are slipping. But it's just a tough one here. South Africa will take some positives out of this. Boy, oh boy, will Bristol take massive positives out of it as we head towards the last 4.5 minutes of this encounter. It's 11:15 in South Africa in the evening. This game kicking off at 9:30. So a long day for those of you who are watching with us. So thank you for sticking around with us. Feed by Uren, and South Africa have a penalty just outside their own 22. Nahamba looking to take it quickly, but gives it to Goosen, who will now kick this one into touch on the near side of the park, inside the 22-meter line of the Bristol Bears. About, again, just a school ruler inside their 22-meter line is where Bristol Bears will have to defend this one. But they're up 15 points, and South Africa only having 4 minutes remaining in this game. 3 minutes 40 is where we'll go specifically. But thank you to all of our listeners and watchers and fans that have joined with us. Again, South Africa not finding the jumpers. Knocked on penalty advantage for South Africa, just over the 22-meter line. Nahamba with a late handoff there to Noche. Noche in isolation, but Nahamba's able to pick it up quickly and move it through the hands of his replacement players. Nahamba bullied there at the back of the ruck, and so now it'll be a penalty advantage to Bristol Bears, and the referee blows his whistle because of the knock-on there. And Batley is absolutely G'd up to Kingdom Come because he's just had a screamer of a game. And for me, is today's man of the match with 3 minutes left in this game. 26 points to 11. Bristol leads South Africa 15.
Yeah, this is a bit worrying, I would say, from a South African point of view. These Bristol boys catching a shine here against our A team, our second best team or our touring team. But there's some experience in this Springbok squad. So
everybody
that's a bit
besides
worrying.
the starting hooker was in the forwards was a capped Springbok. So it's not like they haven't been in that environment. They don't know what it's like. One game is better than no games. It's more games than I've got in a South African
Exactly.
jersey.
Yeah, and so let's give them the benefit van die bout, as we say in Afrikaans. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt, and let's see what the Springboks can do here in the final 2 minutes.
Right, Andy Uren with a feed outside his own 18-yard area. For those of you following, this is traditionally a football ground, but a massive shove there from the Springboks. Boy, oh boy, was that good. Bristol now having to clean up on their own 2-meter line, and yes, Noche collects it and sticks his arm out through the crowd. And what a great bit of work there from Noche. He scored right to the near side of the poles, and the cameraman is following the wrong person because Goosen, while there's a delay with the ball, the tee coming onto the park, Goosen has done the drop goal and converted it. So South Africa, with about 90 seconds left in the game, have to score twice, and I don't know where they're going to find the time to do both, but they'll certainly come close. It was a massive, monster scrum from the Springboks, and you ask, or the SA Select 15 side, where on earth was that 10 minutes into the game?
Yeah. Where was that for the past 70 minutes, guys?
Absolutely.
1 minute to go.
Landing inside the South African 22. Now Nahamba digging it out. Goosen finding his way in amongst the South Africans there. Nahamba, less than a minute to go. They're going to have to run it. They can't kick this ball away. Again, Nahamba at the back of the ruck, looking for his men to try and send this out wide. They run it. Cornel Hendricks trying to run back inside, not able to find the space that he would have sought for. Nahamba from the back of the ruck, and it's ugly and it's dirty and it's not pretty. The referee says advantage and then blows the whistle. Scrum now with 25 seconds left on the clock from the knock-on there from the Bristol players. It was Batley who's had the screamer of a game and just a small blemish there in the end. And it'll be a slow setup here for Bristol with 10 seconds left before the hooter will go.
Yeah, they're going to beat the Springboks, but okay, so 18. Okay, so we did get all right, so the score is updated on our screens here, and I'll update the score on our watch-along.
As the hooter goes, it'll be a feed for the South Africans. They'll still give it a solid go. We want to thank our listeners, followers, watch-along, fellow fans, fellow commentators, commenters. Thank you for joining us for this Thursday evening game. We're going to be bringing you live rugby 1500 hours on Saturday, and it's a free kick to Bristol from that. South Africa not behaving as they should, despite the protestations of JJ Kotze. 3 o'clock, live rugby, One World Sports Radio, 1WSR.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as Bristol thumped this out, and a victory that Bristol will struggle to shortly forget. It was a world-class performance from them to execute the win from them, and they've beat a South African side comprehensively, 26 points to 18, and they have dominated this game, and it's all been about execution of the basics.
That's difficult to swallow, man. That makes me worried. How the hell are the Springboks going to go into the World Cup next year, and you know, the second stringers, the dirt trackers, can't beat Bristol?
Yeah, club sides, yeah. But I think it boils down to our inability to execute the basics. It's something I spoke about at great length during this game.
Yeah.
If you can't catch, you can't find your jumpers, you early engagement, you're knocking on the ball. It's not like it was at Munster. Munster was a wet day, windy day. Yes, it was cold in Bristol, but it's certainly not one that's unfair.
But that's exactly where you need the basics. That's where you fall back on the basics. We've got a lot of exciting players. We've got a lot of players who are dynamite, but you still have to execute, especially in Europe. If you play rugby there, it's a little bit different. We saw all the URC teams struggling to adapt a little bit, and then the Stormers winning the whole thing. These players need to catch up, because then next year it's going to be in France, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's going to be... Yeah, it might not be as bad weather as you would expect in the British Isles, but it's similar. It's pretty close. It's colder, it's wetter, and now that they're bringing in these artificial surfaces there in Northern Europe to try and limit their costs, to try and make their rugby stadiums economically viable, so that they don't need to try and keep grass growing at minus 15. That's a big adaptation that the southern guys are going to have to go through. So I'm worried, Dave. I'm worried, David.
Absolutely. A tough day at the office for the South African Select 15. They'll go home after 2 encounters with a goose egg next to their name in the win column. They'll be disappointed. Perhaps some positives to look at for South Africa. Skhumbuzo Noche, probably the shining lights, and that's coming from a man who came off the bench with about 20 minutes to go. But we want to thank you, Mornenel, Raymond, Janssen van Rensburg, Rowan Swartz, and everybody who has joined us to watch this game. Thank you for your support. We want to thank you again and again and again, because you are the guys that keep us happy, keep us going, and keep us bringing you live sport, rugby and cricket live broadcasts. We also bring you podcasts. They're all on our YouTube channel and Facebook page. Please go check that out on One World Sports Radio. If you want to support us, patreon.com/OneWorldSR, at 1WSR on Twitter. Ozmaster on Twitter has been my colleague for this evening, and we hope that our friend Anis will be feeling a little bit better to join us for the game from Genoa on Saturday afternoon. South Africa with an opportunity to finally pick up a win, hopefully, but Italy off the back of their victory against the Wallabies. I'm Coach Dave, and this has been a One World Sports Radio broadcast. Thank you to all of you, and have a good night.
Bye-bye.